What it do, little boo-boos? We're here for our weekly romance oracle message. Hope you're doing well. I am. I just had a really nice reading with the client, and whenever they get good news, I get the excitement from it. So it's so nice. Ooh, Lady of Lightning. Surprises, sometimes shock, total paradigm shift. It's in the air, isn't it? Things are really shifting and changing, and sometimes it's a lightning flash of eureka after a very long process. So something in our healing, in our journey, through our ability to love and open our heart is changing dramatically. And there's a dramatic shift happening. And so it's going to affect all of our relationships, our family, our friends, our lovers, right? Our romantic relationships. It's going to affect every one of those heart-centered relationships with others. And I think for me this week, one thing that was such a lightning strike revelation was one night I had an unexpected extra night off of work. I got cut from the floor. And so I used that as an extra night to watch one of my Kabbalah classes. And I was almost done with the 10-week class. And so I was excited to see what the final class would be. And it had to do with opening the heart and what it looks like when the heart is closed versus what it's like when the heart is open. And there was a specific example that he used that sort of alleviated my confusion around my tikkun correction process, particularly where it was my relationship with my parents and what was being asked of me and if I was handling it the wrong way or not. And the thing that was revealed was that my teacher was like, you can't, your heart can't be open if it doesn't feel like it has a voice or it's being perceived or heard or, seen. And it starts to shut down. And it made so much sense to me because I have a difficult relationship with my parents, each one of them in a unique way, because the core of it is that I can't express myself freely with them without it creating conflict and ruffling feathers. And sometimes it's just me being myself and expressing truth. It's not necessarily that I'm being kind of confrontational or anything. But they're, very oriented around their doctrine, right? So every, kind of conversation with them, I have a different consciousness than they do. And so a lot of times I've had to just either take incredibly painful backlash by saying my truth, by speaking authentically from the heart, and paying a very painful price over it. But then for years I shut down and I would, kind of go hang out with them when I needed to, but I dreaded it and I didn't enjoy it because I felt completely shut down in their presence because I couldn't be my true self. I couldn't let my soul or my heart be seen. It wasn't safe. And if I spoke my truth, it would cause, hysterical backlash. So to me, I was just causing separation and division just by being myself. And so it silenced me. I was silencing myself in their presence to keep the peace, to have an enjoyable time with my aging parents, right? To be able to have a harmonious relationship, quote unquote. But really it's a facade. And slowly over time, you might be having a more peaceful lunch or get together or holiday, which I think that's not a good time to bring things up over the holidays, but phone call, what have you. But at the same time, you feel like you're abandoning yourself and you're not having a true intimate relationship with that parent. And then you see, other people that maybe fight more and argue more, but they have a deeper love and a deeper intimacy with one another. So there is a healthy, proactive way to speak our truth and have healthy, spiritually sound confrontation versus our reactive confrontation in the moment when we're emotional and when, things can get messy. And so when we can step back and have conscious conversations and conscious communication and learn how to resource ourselves with the tools to be able to stay emotionally regulated and spiritually present as we speak our truth in loving, unreactive ways, but that allow us to speak that truth and not cower away, not shy away from it, but also not become like triggered in that speaking. And then the words become sharper, because then we become like kind of the fire starts to go inside, and we, the heat and the blood pressure, and then we start to say things with a sharper tongue, or we get short, or we become, our nervous system's overwhelmed, and we're emotionally overwhelmed, and then we get reactive and we start saying things that are destructive, right? So not saying anything at all is also kind of the other side of that coin. It's just as destructive. So it's about taking steps, maybe baby steps, in setting those boundaries and speaking those truths, and maybe giving ourselves a framework in which we learn to do that within would help. But I think that being able to hear someone tell me, you being a thorn in their side, just being yourself, is not you being wrong. You don't need to, shrink yourself. The fact that you are like that, I have been trying to speak up, even though it causes this huge thing. Even when I'm doing it the correct way, I've been like, am I doing this wrong? Am I wrong in this? Like, do I just need to accept it and, take the high road? Like, is that what's being asked? And finally it was revealed to me, it's like, no, I am correcting the tikkun by saying these things, even though there's a backlash and I have to face, unpleasant recourse from it. But that is the process of opening the heart and becoming hardier and stronger and more courageous, even when that's uncomfortable. Now, say that you are the kind of person who is always like talking back and being disrespectful, and you have no problem being that voice of confrontation, and maybe you were rebellious and were always in these verbal arguments with your parents, and you didn't have the kind of fear and awe of them, and so you would just say anything and whatever. Maybe that lesson for you is to take a step back and practice restriction and be careful about the way that you confront. Is it your ego confronting, or is it your soul confronting? Right? But there's some lightning strike, I think, awareness or revelation that allows everything to make more sense, that will help us feel more comfortable in our embodiment. And I think that is going to let a lot of things relax within us. And I think that we're going to feel a lot more confident and at ease within, if that makes sense. Surprise, sometimes shock, paradigm shift, and just even having come to that realization that about the shut off heart, the closed heart, it doesn't just close you off in that specific relationship, it closes you off to everything coming in that wants to enter into your vessel, all the blessings, all the joy, all the other loving relationships. It's like everything's closed. Like your heart doesn't open like a drawbridge or like a garage door for whoever's allowed to come in. It's either shut off or it's not. So in this revelation this week, in this heart opening, I've had a lot of really positive blessings come through back to back, like almost on a daily basis. That gives me an indication that that something good is happening, that something is opening up, that the heart is starting to open up and it's drawing things in. It's starting the magnet, right? And so you'll see it little by little, but I love that. So got this and this. Camel boy, small steps, asking for help, right? So you don't want to go in, with all your life history behind you and try to like speak your highest truth to your, parents or whatever that looks like for you. It'll probably start in baby steps where you build a thicker skin, right? And not like a defense mechanism, calloused, thick skin, but a strength that does not let those that backlash land in a personal way, that you can kind of see it from the outside for the defensiveness that it actually is. And then it holds less weight. You're just like, okay, you see that this is a person's defense mechanisms, and that they're reaching for whatever that they can, and that the adversary is whispering to them, oh, this is their deepest insecurity, why don't you play on this, and putting that in their mind. And so, I think it gives you a shield from that impact, and then slowly but surely you can demonstrate that inner sovereignty and inner strength, and you kind of start to build a sovereignty and a strength and an influence energetically and spiritually around those situations, and it gets easier. Maybe you become more impactful gradually, but baby steps, little steps versus huge leaps and bounds all at once, right? Because it's a learning process. Gaia's garden, fruition, abundance, reaping what you sow. Yes, our care to go into the nitty gritty of what is holding us back in our relationships and our security and our abundance and the beauty of our life, right? Venus rules money and relationships and love. So those things are connected, not because you need money to be loved, but because your love life and your financial life are a reflection of how you feel about yourself on the inside, or how you perceive yourself. It's a reflection of your worth. And so how you allow people to treat you is a reflection of your worth, whether that's at work or, in the field of your profession, or whether it's in your relationships. What you expect for yourself, and when you communicate those boundaries, and when you communicate your limits or your higher truth, that opens up more magnetism for abundance to flow in your life, right? And it will show up in many ways. I've had years that I've been filled with emotional turmoil inside, that my physical, literal garden outside didn't do very well. It was just kind of like reflecting back to me my inner infertility. And this summer, and I don't grow by leaps and bounds as a gardener. Like, it's like a very slow learning process with me as a gardener. But this year, my garden is yielding better fruit, and things are really lush, and it's a really beautiful season this year, right? But I think it's coming on the other side of a lot of spiritual rearranging that's gone on deep on the inside on a foundational level. And then when those things really do start to take root, then we start seeing the material evidence. But we have to believe that all of that is already there. We're already healed. We're already whole. We are already in a state of completion. The last thing that's left is just the physical manifestation. And usually the physical manifestation is what we're fixated on, so we're only looking at the lack. But if we can feel and know and be aware of the fact that it's already there, the relationship's already there, like the next phase of my abundance and my security and my life opening up on new levels is already there. And so it's only a matter of the time and place intersecting. All right, resting tree, patience and stillness. I love this. Letting yourself letting the hypervigilance relax, right? Don't rest on your laurels. Keep up the good work. Keep tending to the core pillars of your life and the things that you are nurturing, right? But you don't have to be tense about it. You don't have to have anxiety or neuroses. Things are coming into place, right? Put yourself out in the world doing the things that you like. Open your energy up to people. Start to look for good things to believe about people. And that will be what you're attracting. And, even like out and about in the world, like I have for the last couple of years, it feels like I never see attractive people, like attractive guys, like out and about. I'm putting myself out there. I'm looking like I look cute when I'm, bebopping around, whether it's on the track or the trails or jogging or what. So why am I not seeing anybody? It feels like there's just such dry deserts before me. And then all of a sudden, like recently, once I've hit this, epiphany about the opening of the heart and some other recent lessons that I've not happened upon, but always they synchronize. And then that whole heart opening thing, it's like, not only have there been like material blessings coming through and just neat, unique, enjoyable things, but I'm starting to see more men around, and I'm starting to get a lot more, just sudden surges of interaction, not only just seeing them about, but like, it just seems like I'm drawing a lot of attention suddenly too. So sometimes it's just that piece that needs to fall into place on the inside, and then everything else can suddenly shift on the outside. And no matter how much I ran around trying to put myself in the right places and keeping my eyes peeled, it's like you can't force it to happen until everything's ready and primed vibrationally, emotionally, in all other ways as well. So letting your spirit rest inside, keeping it up the effort, but be at peace and know that things are happening, having patience, right? Keeping that stillness within keeps us chill. It keeps us peaceful. It keeps our energy very peaceful and very chill. There's nothing more inviting than wanting to go sit by the peaceful, chill person who makes you feel like you're at rest as well. When you're like, everything's like, frenetic inside, you're like, I don't want to sit by that person. They're just like a wound up energy. Just, too much. Right? So that inner stillness not only makes us more attractive, but it also gives us a greater sense of confidence, and it helps us hear that direction a lot more vividly, rather than trying to hear through all the noise and all the voices inside of our head and all the emotions and the everything, life pulling us this way and that. So cultivate my peace within you. And then that reminded me of something that I wanted to bring up. Not that this is the 3 weeks of Cancer retrograde and that everything's got kind of chaotic right now, so better to just wait a couple of weeks before planting that seed. But there was something else. Oh yeah, I remember. So when I mentioned like this information just happened to reveal itself to me right now, it's never an accident. Life is always teaching you what you need in the moment. And I know that because I see the synchronicities all the time between like the daily Zohar videos that I watch every morning, and they comment on the Torah portions of the week, but I don't know what they're going to be ahead of time. And they kind of it always starts again on like Sunday. So Saturday night, Secret Teachings of Jesus, I don't have any idea what's going to come the next week. I'm not that, I don't have that much time to know, in my memory, this is the portion coming next. So every Saturday night, our Secret Teachings of Jesus out of the Gnostics, completely, like the lesson is completely hidden within our lesson that night. And every time I'm like, wow, this is a really cool lesson. The next day I find out, oh my God, this was going to be the energy of the week. It's so crazy. So then another thing that's interesting too is that I take these Kabbalah classes through the Kabbalah Center, and I sign up for the interactive Zoom classes. Like they have some that are already on demand and you can just watch replays or whatever at your leisure. But some of them are Zoom classes, and you can either be there live during the class and interact, or you can have the replay and watch it. And so usually the classes are happening on nights that I work. So I usually have to watch the replay. And sometimes like I'll be taking a whole bunch of classes at once. So the day that they do the class or the week that they're on is sometimes like weeks off from where I'm listening to it. So I'm usually not synchronized with the class that's live, which if the class was live, then the class would be also along the lines, or maybe even line up with some of the lessons from like the weekly Torah portion. But usually it's a set curriculum, right? So I always think it's interesting when I'm not in order with the class at all as far as like timing goes in the year. It doesn't matter. The class always is giving me some nugget that I need that like totally lines up with the Torah portions of the week, and also themes coming through in the readings and themes that I'm stumbling upon in like other reading and like just like deep study and research. I'm like, it's so wild how all of the synchronicities happen. And it's not wild at all. That's just how it works. But from the human perspective, looking at it all always coming together, it never ceases to be fun. And that's why I always say that witches are always laughing and cackling, because they're always seeing these inside jokes that the universe is doing through the synchronicities that no one else would pick up on. But they look at a bird and they're like, people are like, what? They're like, oh, you wouldn't understand. And you're like, I guess they're seeing something I'm not. But yeah. Always, the universe is always talking to us. And that's part of reading the synchronicities. And then when you see the synchronicities like that and revealing these truths by total accident, then I think you become less neurotic about trying to look for synchronicities when they're not there. You know, I think we've all done that when we're like, oh, I like this guy or girl, show me a sign that they're meant to be for me. And then like you suddenly see that sign everywhere, you know, and you're like, well, I don't understand why it's not working out. Like that's a forced thing, and it can really get our ego involved. But rather when the matrix shows you the sign, that's when we can be like, oh, okay, I'm starting to see that these things are really adding up. And I think also too, being aware that the opponent can also present to you signs, because the opponent is also like sitting on one side of your shoulder while your little angels are sitting on the other. So the opponent knows you pretty well too. So it can throw in some signs that could divert you or keep you distracted. So learning that also helps put this, like, I followed all the signs. I don't know why it didn't work out. I didn't know it erupted in such chaos. It was a real crazy time of my life, but all the signs were there. It's like, where are the signs coming from? So they're coming from everywhere. So part of the next phase of seeing synchronicities and signs is discerning the signs. All right, y'all, that is all for today. I'm going to go get out in the great outdoors, go roam the woods, do some research, and hopefully work on some Substack things, and maybe go for a rigorous run in the heat. We'll see how it goes. All right, peace.